Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Good News Day, the episode where me and my dad look up great positive news stories or revelations. We look up revelations. New things we're learning. My mouth could not say that word. Or good things that are happening, or cute, in my case, cute things that are happening out there. So I hope you're excited for a positive news story here on Before Coffee, the comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we haven't had any caffeine. Of course, as Tommy said, this is the perfect show for you to drink all your coffee to. So let's get into today's headlines. Today on Before Coffee, world's cutest sheep, Valais Blacknose on the rise in Australia.
And Good News Tuesday, we're going to talk about the abandoned Iranian military base in Syria.
Jurassic fossil rewrites what we thought we knew about bird evolution.
Florida man survives gator attack when neighbor runs it over with an SUV. And oysters carry a protein that kills bacteria behind pneumonia, strep throat, and scarlet fever.
London's African fine dining boom. How restaurants like Akoko and Chisuru are redefining the scene.
National Battery Day on this February 18th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
It's not about London being good news. It's about the African restaurants there. So it's more like it's good news that London's getting a taste of Africa. That's what I would say. But hello, Tommy. I hope you're having a good Tuesday as we get into our Good News Day stories today. Let's, of course, first roll our new segment, the Wheel of Segways. So let me put that up. There you go. And let's get this thing rolling. Rolling. You said that last time. You said that last week too. Rolling.
Did I really?
Yeah. All right, we've got a mixed metaphor. That will be your segue. Or
a mixed metaphor. Alrighty.
Yes. Oh, I need everything is stacked on top of each other. And they're all competing to be on top.
Alright, mixed metaphor.
Okay. For my first story, we're going to talk about the world's cutest sheep, which I will now put on screen. Here. There you go. These are supposedly the world's cutest sheep. Oh, I guess you can see it above me right here. And I will keep them up the whole story, so I don't have to be dynamic. We're in the Kisses and Cuddles game. This is from Brandon Long on ABC News. It's not the way you'd expect a farmer to describe their livestock operation, but not every operation is built around what is often called the world's cutest sheep. Tucked away in the rolling hills of the Jimboomba region of Queensland, Ray Norris and Rachel Moon Valais Blacknose Sheep Farm is capturing the hearts of animal lovers across Australia. You meet them and you fall in love, Ray said. Originating in the icy Swiss Alps, Valais Blacknose sheep are renowned for their fluffy white coats, dark faces, spiral horns, and dog-like personalities. I think that's what we're getting love from. Humans don't love things that react to them like they love them forever. The rare breed first arrived in Australia via Victoria in 2020 and have since spread to Tasmania, South Australia, and New South Wales. Ray and Rachel are among only a handful of breeders in Queensland, sharing these enchanting creatures with the public. It's really humbling if we get to share the love, Ray said. For the husband and wife team who had previously focused on Merino and Dorper sheep, it all started with a simple scroll through social media. An image of a Valais stood out. Rachel said, "They're beautiful, aren't they?" Ray recalled. It was love at first sight. The moment set the stage for a 3,500-kilometer round trip to Victoria, where they brought home Rosie and Adam. 2 years later, their flock has grown to 60. That's a lot of cute sheep. And their social media following has expanded just as rapidly. Now the couple sells the sheep as pets and showcases them at petting zoos and events where people can interact with their friendly flock. That's right, these are vegan-friendly sheep. They're just there to be cute. You're not supposed to eat them. Well, you do have to shear them. Unfortunately, we domesticated sheep to the point that you have to cut their hair for them. But that's just like any dog, right? Dogs have to get their hair cut too. And and now they're just they have these cute little sheep. While Valais Blacknose sheep have historically been raised for their wool and their meat, Ray and Rachel view them as more than just livestock. Their sheep's affectionate nature has made them perfect companions. Bringing the Valais Blacknose sheep to Australia was no easy feat. Since 1952, Australia has banned the importation of live sheep from all countries except New Zealand. God damn, New Zealand having a monopolization of sheep. Only our sheep. With Switzerland's export restrictions.
And Tasmanian devils, too.
Yeah. Breeders turned to the UK, where embryos and semen were first imported into Australia in 2020 by Victorian farmers Belinda Cardinal and Tony Ulrich. Wow, thanks for making sheep in a test tube just so we could have them in Australia. Due to their, I think that's who we're looking at right now, actually. The picture above me is the two people who bred the first sheep in Australia. Due to the rarity and high established cost, quality breeding sheep once fetched upward of $25,000. I don't know if that's Australian dollars or US dollars, but I don't care. That's a lot of money for a sheep. But today, non-breeding pets are available for as little as $500. Okay, so if you want a cute, adorable little sheep, you only need to pay $500. Despite the seemingly high prices for the breeding stock, Belinda, who is also president of the Breed Society, Valais Blacknose Australia Ltd, is seeing a strong increase in interest. We have a wide base of genetics in Australia now, and there's also interest in internationally for Australian genetics, she said. I can't do an Australian accent. Yeah, no, I can't do one. I was thinking, but I don't know what the activation word is other than a curse word. Which I'm not going to just say that straight out. We think the future is very bright. She said the community was thriving with nearly 50 members, so there's 50 members of their breed society, and an active Australian Facebook group of more than 5,000 followers. Well, they're going to get really more now. Heading to the Queensland warmer climate, Ray and Rachel's sheep have had to make at least one change. Regular haircuts. We shear twice or sometimes 3 times a year, depending on the weather, just to keep them comfortable, Rachel said. The wool is sent to local hand-spinning groups where it's made into coats and rugs. We also give them plenty of shade and fresh water, and we find that they're doing really well. Rachel, a vet by profession, has advice for any potential owners. They go a bit crazy in the afternoons and run around and prance and dance. You're just selling them more to me here. I just want to buy one more. They prance and dance. They don't just lay there in bread. They actually run around. They definitely need a few acres to be sheep/dogs. Ray reckons their sheep are friendlier than another popular and some say cute farm animal. I don't want to start any alpaca wars, but they kick, bite, and spit. Our sheep don't do that. He laughed. Looking at the future, the farmers dream of building a shed where visitors can witness lambs being born. Because if there's one thing cuter than a Valais, it's a Valais lamb. In a major coup for the breed, Belinda announced this week that Valais Blacknose will be feature sheep breed at the Melbourne Royal Show this September. They have a Melbourne Royal Show. That's cool. We are really excited and proud of this announcement, she said. Internationally recognized as the cutest breed of sheep in the world, people just cannot help but love them. So there you go. There's your story on these very cute sheep. And you can, I guess, if you live in Australia, you can probably buy them now if you already live in the UK. Or, I don't know if they're available in the US. There's no information here about that, but they definitely are in the UK because that's where they got their breeding stock from. And you want to own a cute sheep that runs around in the evenings like a cat, I guess. Has the zoomies, as we call them. Feel free to get those. Yeah.
It's like having a sheep in sheep's clothing. and the more the merrier. There's your mixed metaphor.
Yep. A merry little go-around indeed. All right, let me roll the wheel of segues for me.
All right.
I got a limerick. It's fine. You have one story, so it's easier when you have one story. If you have multiple stories, it's just like how much you can buy.
The wheel is broken. The wheel is broken.
You
I
want a
never get
limerick so bad, huh?
Oh, I don't necessarily want one. It's just, why do you keep getting a limerick and I keep getting
Well, what you could do is you
other
could add
things?
mirrored amounts, and then it's a double chance to get both, I guess.
We can do a respin. That's just a
Spin
waste.
until I get a limerick.
Whatever. You just got to deal with what you dealt you, man. Okay, so this is a story from BBC.com. A little bit longer. It's about Iran's. It's from Nafisa Konbard. Iran's abandoned bases in Syria. Years of military expansion lies in ruins. After years of military expansion, everything Iran was trying to build in Syria is in ruins. Moldy, half-finished food on bunk beds, discarded military uniforms, and abandoned weapons. These are the remnants of an abrupt retreat from this base that once belonged to Iran and its affiliated groups in Syria. The scene tells the story of panic. The forces stationed here fled with little warning, leaving behind a decade-long presence that unraveled in mere weeks. Iran was Syria's President Bashar al-Assad's most critical ally for more than 10 years. It deployed military advisors, mobilized foreign militias, and invested heavily in Syria's war. Its elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, built deep networks of underground bases, supplying arms and training to thousands of fighters. For Iran, this was part of its security belt against Israel. We are near Khan Shakhan town in Idlib province. Before Assad's regime fell on December 8th, this was one of the key strategic locations for the IRGC and its allied groups. From the main road, the entrance is barely visible, hidden behind piles of sand and rocks. A watchtower on a hilltop, still painted in the colors of the Iranian flag, overlooks the base. A receipt notebook confirms the base's name. The position of Martyr Zahedi, named for Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a top IRGC commander who was assassinated in an alleged Israeli airstrike on Iran's consulate on Syria on April 1st, 2024. The supplies recently ordered, we found receipts for chocolate, rice, and cooking oil, suggest daily life continued here until the last moments. But now the base has new occupants, 2 armed Uyghur fighters from the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the HTS, the Islamist militant group whose leader Ahmed al-Shara has become the new interim president of Syria. The Uyghurs arrived suddenly in the military vehicle asking for our media accreditation. Let's put words in there that I can't pronounce. Iranians were here. They all fled, one of them says, speaking in his mother tongue, a dialect of Turkish. Whatever you see, here's from them. Even these onions and the leftover foods. Boxes full of fresh onions in the courtyard have now germinated. The base is a labyrinth of tunnels dug deep in the white rocky hills. There are bunk beds in some rooms with no windows. The roof of one of the corridors is draped in fabric in the colors of the Iranian flag, and there are a few Persian books on the rocky shelf. Forces had to leave in a rush, taking off their uniforms and fleeing. They left behind documents containing sensitive information, all in Persian. They have details of fighters' personal information. Military personnel codes, home addresses, spouses' names, and mobile phone numbers from Iran. From the names, it's clear that several fighters in this base were from. They had to haul ass. They were probably getting overrun. It is clear that several fighters of the base were from Afghan brigade that was formed by Iran to fight in Syria. Sources linked to Iran-backed groups told BBC Persian that the base houses mainly Afghan forces accompanied by Iranian military advisors and their Iranian commanders. Tehran's main justification for its military involvement in Syria was to fight against jihadi groups and to protect Shia holy shrines against radical Sunni militants. Man, your religion's so great, we have to make sure that they don't destroy the shrines. It's like, religions are stupid. Sorry. It created paramilitary groups of mainly Afghan, Pakistani, and Iraqi fighters. Yet when the final moment came, Iran was unprepared. Orders for retreat reached some bases at the very last moment. Developments happened so fast. A senior member of the Iran-backed Iraqi paramilitary group tells me the order was just to take your backpack and leave. Multiple sources close to the IRGC told the BBC that most of the forces had to flee Iraq and some were ordered to go to Lebanon or Russian bases to be evacuated from Syria by the Russians. And he says that they thought their operation would take about a year and best they'd capture Aleppo in 3 to 6 months, but to their surprise, they entered Aleppo in a matter of days. The regime's rapid downfall was brought on by a chain of events after Hamas' 7 October attack on Israel. That attack led to an escalation of Israeli airstrikes against the IRGC and Iran-backed groups in Syria and a war against another key Iranian ally, the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, whose leader was killed in an airstrike. This situation of psychological collapse for Iran and Hezbollah was central to their downfall, said 35-year-old fighter Rabat. But the most crucial blow came within. There was a rift between Assad and his Iran-linked allies, he said. There was a complete breakdown of trust and military cooperation between them. IRGC-linked groups were blaming Assad of betrayal and believing that he's giving up their locations to Israel. As we pass through Khan Sakoin, we come across a street painted in the colors of the Iranian flag. It leads to a school building that was being used as an Iranian headquarters. On the wall, on the entrance to the toilet, slogans read, "Down with Israel" and "Down with the USA." It was evident that these headquarters were also evacuated at short notice. We found documents classified as highly sensitive. Abdullah, 65, and his family among the very few locals who stayed and lived here alongside the IRGC-led groups. He said his life was hard. His house is only a few meters away from the headquarters, and in between there are deep trenches with barbed wire. Wow. Movement at night was prohibited, he said. Abdullah says the presence of Iran-backed groups in the neighborhood made life difficult. His neighbor's home was turned into a military post. They sat there with their guns pointing at the road, treating us all as suspects, he recalls. Most of the fighters didn't even speak Arabic, he says. They were all Afghans, Iranians, Hezbollah, but referred to them all as Iranians because Iran was controlling them. Abdullah's wife, Joria, says she is happy that the Iranian militias have left, but she still remembers the stressful moment before their withdrawal. She had thought they would be trapped in crossfire as Iran-backed groups were fortifying their positions and getting ready to fight, but then they just vanished within a few hours. This was an occupation, Iranian occupation, says Abdu, who, like others, had just returned here with his family after 10 years. His house had also become a military base. I observed this anger towards Iran and softer attitude towards Russia in many conversations with Syrians. I asked Rabat, the HTS fighter, why this was. Russians were dropping bombs from the sky, and other than that, they were in the bases while Iranians and their militias were on the ground interacting. People were feeling their presence, and many weren't happy with it, he explained. This feeling reflected in Syria's new ruler's policy towards Iran. The new authorities have put a ban on Iranian nationals, along with Israelis, entering Syria, but there's no such ban against Russians. Syria's new leader has condemned Iran's role in the country. Iran's embassy, which was stormed by angry protesters after the fall of the regime, remains closed. The reaction of Iranian officials towards developments in Syria has been contradictory. While Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei called on Syrian youths to resist those who have brought instabilities to Syria, Iran's foreign ministry has taken a more balanced view. It says the country backs any government supported by the Syrian people. There you go. In one of his first interviews, Syria's new leader, Shara, described their victory over Assad as an end to the Iranian project, but he hasn't ruled out having a balanced relationship with Tehran. For the moment, though, Iran is not welcome in Syria. After years of expanding its military presence, everything Tehran built is now in ruins, both in battlefield and, it seems, in the eyes of a large part of Syria's public. Back at the abandoned base, Iran's military expansion was still underway even in the last days. Next to the camp were more tunnels under construction, apparently the beginnings of a field hospital.
Okay.
The cement on the walls was still wet. The cement on the walls was still wet and the paint fresh. Let some poor cement if it's still wet. But left behind now is the evidence of a brief fight, a few bullet shells, and a military uniform covered with blood. There's your story. The good news of people getting their country back from foreign interlopers is always good, and hopefully they can self-govern without a totalitarian dictator. We always hope for that.
Yep.
Good news, and time for a limerick.
Okay. So, in a once bustling hall, it's now still at night, echoes whispers secrets without light. The scent of onions strong wafts through the desolate throng, a reminder of life's transient plight. I really like that thing about the onions growing in the freaking boxes still. All right, let's roll your segue here. Onions still growing. They started an onion farm. Make an onion farm there. Perfect.
They're germinating.
Okay, you need to actually have an accurate metaphor or a simile.
No, okay.
So there you go. In my story, we're going to talk about Jurassic fossils and how they're rewriting what we know about evolution of birds. This is from Will Dunham on The Independent. A quill-sized bird fossil discovered in southeastern China is reshaping our understanding of avian evolution. The fossil, dating back 150 million years ago to the Jurassic period, reveals a surprisingly modern bird for its age. Named Bominorinus zegenensis, this newfound species shares the title of the oldest known bird with Archaeopteryx, discovered in Germany in 1861. However, despite their shared antiquity, Bominorinus, measuring about 6 inches long, exhibits significantly more advanced anatomical features and superior flight capabilities compared to the crow-sized Archaeopteryx, a creature often described as a transitional form between reptiles and birds. A key difference lies in their tails. The Archaeopteryx possessed a long, bony tail reminiscent of a predatory dinosaur like the velociraptor. The Bominorinus, on the other hand, sported a shortened tail characteristic of modern birds. This adaptation is crucial for aerodynamics, shifting the body center of gravity forward, closer to the wings, and enhancing flight. The stark anatomical contrast between these two earliest known birds, coupled with their geographical distance separately by approximately 5,500 miles, suggests that an avian evolution had already been underway for millions of years before their emergence. This discovery pushes back the timeline of bird development, highlighting a richer and more complex evolutionary history than previously understood. Birds evolved from small feathered dinosaurs. Based on the new discovery, the first birds arose in 172 to 164 million years ago, millions of years earlier than the previously believed. According to paleontologist Min Wang of the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, lead author of the study published in the Journal of Nature. Yeah, that's a lot of things. There's a scientist who studies this stuff, and they published this study about the new birds. Here's a picture of what they think the bird that they just discovered, what was it called again? The Bominorinus looks like. The Bominorinus. So, there you go. It's a bird. I think it's a bird. Bominorinus zegenensis looks more like martin birds than the Archaeopteryx, Wang said, calling it a discovery a landmark to me and other evolutionary biologists. Until now, the Archaeopteryx was the only unquestionable bird known from the Jurassic, which ended roughly 145 million years ago. This fossil, Bominorinus, indicates that Jurassic birds probably already had a global distribution and much more diversified than previously thought, said paleontologist and study co-author Zhong Zhao of the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology in China. The Bominorinus fossil was discovered in 2023, during scientific fieldwork in Fujian Province's Jiangxi County. The fossil preserves much of the bird's skeleton but lacks the skull, leaving a gap in the understanding of its diet and lifestyle that could be interpreted from its jaws and its teeth. Yeah, was it already eating with did it even have teeth? They're assuming it has teeth because they don't know. Yeah. Wong said Bomminornis probably had teeth, as did Archaeopteryx, but they're saying probably. That's not the truth. Until now, the oldest known birds with short tails lived about 20 million years ago. So we went from what we thought was 20 million years ago to 172 million years ago. There were birds that could fly and have short tails. Including Eocofincionsornis, Protopteryx, Pluralispenia, and Archaeornithura. Unlike Archaeopteryx, Bomminornis has a pygostyle, a bone plate formed by a fused vertebrae at the end of the vertebral condyle. I think that's what in the picture is there. You can see two kind of bones that are being highlighted in like an X-ray vision. So it has that special bone plate in the front. A short tail ending with the pygostyle is a universal feature of extant birds. It provides attachment for fan-shaped tail feathers, facilitating more sophisticated and powerful flight. Yeah, you're able to move your tail feathers to aim and go different directions. The pectoral and pelvic bones of the Bomminornis were also more like modern birds than the Archaeopteryx. Bomminornis did share some primitive characteristics, such as a clawed dinosaurian hands. The researchers found during the same fieldwork a solitary wishbone that was more advanced than that of the Archaeopteryx, and dating the same time as the Bomminornis, but apparently belonging to yet another early bird species. With such incomplete remains, the researchers did not give the apparent new species a name yet. Bomminornis lived in a swampy area alongside the meat-eating dinosaur Fujiana venator, as well as a various semi-aquatic reptiles, turtles, and fish, based on other fossils found in the area. The 19th century discovery of the Archaeopteryx was now known from about a dozen specimens lent support to British naturalist Charles Darwin's ideas about evolution and provided evidence that today's birds descended from dinosaurs. Archaeopteryx was, as University of Edinburgh paleontologist Steve Broussat put in, the textbook example of a creature caught in the act of evolution, like a freeze frame. It wasn't done. It was like, oh, this bird is almost done being a bird. It's missing a couple of things and it has too many parts. Yet, for more than 150 years now, Archaeopteryx has stood alone. During of all that time, it remains as the only unquestionable bird fossil from the Jurassic period, said Broussat, who wrote a commentary accompanying the Bomminornis study. Bomminornis tells us that a variety of birds lived during the Jurassic, and they flew in different ways. There were a bevy of birds flying overhead of Allosauruses and Stegosauruses and Brontosauruses, and the other iconic Jurassic dinosaurs, Broussat added. So there's your good news for any paleontologists out there, any dinosaur lovers or bird lovers. We discovered a new link to dinosaurs and birds, or maybe we've killed a link to dinosaurs and birds. Maybe birds were always their own animal all along, and dinosaurs were just what you would call an extinct line of the tree. They just all died, and only these smaller birds survived.
Well, until we find more fossils, right?
Yeah.
It's an evolving
they said, they found another fossil, but it was only like a jawbone or something, so they can't really, or wishbone. Right. They can't really do anything about that. They can't determine what that means at all.
This just means they had a rib cage, maybe. That's about it. Which most animals and birds do have rib cages.
Yeah. You got me.
And that only goes to prove. Yeah, it only goes to prove the brand new maxim I just made up. One fossilized bird in hand is worth two still encased in stone.
All right, let's roll my wheel and get onto your story.
Okay. What do we gotta do?
Oh, I hope I have a personal story about what you're about to talk about. At least two stories, right? So I have a personal story about one of them, I'm sure.
I hope so. Well, Florida man survives gator attack. Okay, let's go with that one. This is from the Good News Network, Andy Corbley. A pair of Florida residents are set to enjoy a show by former Tonight Show host Jay Leno as a deserved reward for snatching their neighbor from the jaws of death. What? Jay Leno? Or perhaps it should read the jaws released. Or perhaps it should read the jaws leased by death, because at the time they belonged to a massive American alligator that ran down Rick Fingerett walking his dogs down the Naples street. Oh, I know somebody that lives in Naples. Okay, occurring after dark on Friday, April 19th of last year, Fingerett was passing a pond in which he had seen alligator laundering every so often when he felt a tug on the leashes of his two dogs. They might have been Labradors and fit for all kinds of emergency situations when trained, but this was an 11-foot-long gator sprinting with his mouth open towards them at probably close to 10 miles an hour, which is faster than most people can run. Speaking with the Naples Daily News, Fingerett recounts a nightmarish scenario with stunning clarity. He starts by saying he began to back away fast. I tripped in all the frenzy, Fingerett remembered, and the minute I fell, he clasped his hands together to simulate the gator's jaws closing. He got me. Apparently, the pair lay on the grass for several moments, the gator unsure of what to do next. Ever so often, you feel a lurch, Fingerett said, a tug. He wanted to move me, but he couldn't. I was bigger than he had anticipated. I wanted it to know that I was there. I had a lot of fight left in me, and I was very conscious of not passing out, because the minute that would happen, I would be done. He started hammering at the beast's scaly armor, poking its eyes, and trying to pry open his jaws without any luck. Without a shadow of doubt, the strangest part of the story came in the next part, which Fingerett narrated. His dogs lay at his side, silent and probably frozen in terror. Somehow he managed to keep a hold of their leashes throughout the entire ordeal. Next, neighbors Walt Rudder and Paula Keegan were driving by when they saw and heard Fingerett on his side, next to his dogs, screaming for help. They thought he had fallen and broken something, but after the dogs moved a little, they saw an unmistakable shape, unchanged for 300 million years. Speaking of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Mr. Rudder ran over and described his supernatural level of calm, from which Fingerett instructed his neighbor to gather up his dogs and put them in the car and then run the lizard over with it. Throwing his heavy Lincoln in the drive, Rudder needed just one pass over the alligator's midsection, who terrifyingly held up well and ran back down to the pond. It was over. Yeah, he ran over to the alligator's like, screw this, you're going to run me over with cars.
Alligators are not very brave animals. They're just
just hungry.
Yeah.
They used a t-shirt and dog leash to stop the bleeding, and the sheriff's department, which Rudder had called, arrived after. The two neighbors admit being bonded for life after experience in Fingerett's nomination of Rudder and Keegan for the Naples Daily News contest saw them win tickets to Jay Leno's show at the Hertz Arena 2 weeks later. And there's a picture of them with posing with Jay Leno. It's a guy and his wife. I guess it's the guy with...
Guy's leg bitten off by an alligator? Or the people who saved? The neighbors?
The neighbors posing with Jay Leno with his wife.
The guy who got his leg bit off should have got the prize.
He didn't get his leg bit off. He was just about to get eaten. The two men would later watch as the assailant was captured by animal authorities, which, being Florida, specializes in problem gators. Incredibly, the animal neither broke Fingerett's bones, nor tore any ligaments, nor punctured the femoral artery. So he survived, and do you have a personal story for that, or should I go on to the next story?
The only personal story I can think of here is I remember back in 2016, those idiot parents who had their child playing in the Disneyland swamp water. And that's not really a positive story, though. It's not a personal story either. I just remember being in like a hotel. It was when we were trying to move to Oklahoma, right? And it was happening on the news at the time. And one of the hotels we were staying in.
It was very traumatic
or something.
to think about.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about good news today.
Yeah. So that's the only thing. I've never met a gator. Luckily, not even a caiman. I've never even seen a caiman. So.
Yeah, they're kind of cool. You don't want to mess with them though.
Yeah.
GoodNewsNetwork.org has another story from Andy Corbley. It's oysters carry protein that kills bacteria behind pneumonia, strep throat, and scarlet fever. Scarlet fever is one of the things I thought we eliminated. Anyway, which we probably could have eliminated it by now. A protein found in oysters has been identified as an outright killer of antibiotic-resistant bacteria and to strengthen antibiotics' overall effectiveness. Now, all them raw oysters I've been eating all these years, paying off. This is why I never get strep throat. I'm telling you. Not that I eat oysters that often. The discovery was made by scientists in Australia who found the protein in the bivalve's hemolymphs, cells that act like blood cells in humans. Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus pneumoniae, Staphylococcus pyogenes genes may not mean much to the average person, but the common infectious diseases they cause probably will. Probably will what? They can result in staph infections, pneumonia and scarlet fever, and strep throat respectively. But they are also 3 species that the Sydney rock oyster's blood-like fluid seems to be capable of treating. It makes sense oysters would have a potent endogenous antimicrobial secretions since they are filter feeders, slurping in liters of water every day, keeping the nutrients and expelling the rest. Their antimicrobial compound prevents bacteria that causes diseases like those already mentioned from forming colonies protected by biofilms, a substance that allows them to glom together and stick to membranes and tissues whilst protecting them from antibiotic drugs. We often think about bacteria as just floating around in the blood. Study co-author Kirsten Bankendorf, a marine scientist at Southern Cross University, tells The Guardian, we often think about bacteria just floating around in the blood, but in reality, a lot of them actually adhere to the surfaces. The advantage of having something that disrupts the biofilm is it's stopping all of those bacteria from attaching to the surfaces. It's releasing them back into the blood where they can be attacked by antibiotics. The oyster protein, on its own, killed S. pneumoniae, S. pyogenes, but when combined with antibiotic drugs, the effect was between 2 and 32 times greater, depending on the drug and bacteria. Pharmacologists are speedily trying to develop new antibiotics as those overprescribed for decades across the world are rapidly losing efficacy. Anything that can extend the viability of these existing products will help curb what many scientists are claiming will become the largest danger to an individual health from infectious disease for the next 25 years. Benkendorf and her team are continuously testing the oyster protein for toxicity in human lung tissue and blood cells where it would be needed most to curb drug-resistant bacterial infections. So there's your good news on the oyster front. And we're always going to keep track of the oyster front. Good news on the oyster front and the alligator prevention situation.
Yeah.
And I did send you a video. So.
Okay, that's a lot of things I have to do at once.
Okay.
You should tell me on the beginning of your story, not the end of your story. Because if you tell me at the end of your story, I'll forget by the time I'm done with my story. Right?
Yeah, well, I forget. So I
You
forgot.
forgot to tell me at the beginning of your story.
I forgot.
All right.
Oh.
Well, I don't have any personal stories about oysters either, though. I do have a personal story about mussels, if you allow that. There's a cute little mussel restaurant back in Zeeland, which is right by the Delta Works, which is one of the modern 7 world wonders where they're stopping the ocean from taking over the Netherlands. And there's a fresh oyster farm there, so you can get the oysters straight out. You can even see the boat go out, come back in with a bunch of oysters. Very nice. But also mussels. Okay. Very nice mussels, too. I've never had oysters. I don't know why, but I like mussels more, so I guess that's why I always eat mussels. So I'm not a huge fan of how here, at least, they do a lot of wine. Like they make the mussels in wine. I don't like wine, so it just makes me feel sick. Because I don't like alcohol. But there you go. Here's a personal story.
That's the French. Ain't nothing else to cook in, so they use the wine.
Yeah. Just drown it in alcohol. All right, let's roll
Very-
your segue here. You also have to tell me a personal story.
Okay.
Personal story about African food. You've been around. You've had some African food, I'm sure, somewhere. Maybe. We'll see. This is on Euronews Culture by Ellis Morton. Oh, maybe not Ellis Morton. Who was it by? Go back. It was... Oh no, it's doing that thing again where it's changing on my stories. I have this thing on Euronews where you press left and right and it decides to go. Oh god, I don't want to do this. Stop. I've literally switched to 15 different stories in a second. Where was I? Okay. Can you stop switching stories automatically and just... Stop! Why is it doing this? The website has a mind of its own. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, got it.
I just want to go here. Nope. Now I've lost the story because it rolled over a million. Okay, here we go. Click the link and don't change the story. This is from Nora Famkin on Euronews Culture. African restaurants in London are growing, with chefs bringing tradition and innovation to the capital's diverse tastes. In recent years, London has experienced a significant rise in the number of African restaurants. Among the standout names is Akoko, one of the few African restaurants in the UK capital to earn a Michelin star, and it's clear why. When Nora first entered, she was struck by the sophisticated atmosphere. This was not the typical African restaurant she had visited before. Okay. Sorry, I hate when people do that. Oh, it's sophisticated. What does that mean? Oh, it's more white, or whatever that means. I assume they mean, oh, it's more white. It's not loud and colorful or something, and it's boring looking. Anyways, it is a place where fine dining meets West African tradition, and the result is truly special. Founder Aji Akokomi envisioned a space where African cuisine could stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's best, and he's easily succeeded in his vision. By world's best, he means world's most pretentious. I always find fine dining to be like, yeah, the food tastes okay. It's all about the experience, though. You're not eating it for the food. I've been to Chinese, French, Indian, and countless other fine dining establishments, but I couldn't find an African restaurant, and that felt on par with the others. That's why I decided it was time to create something different. Akokomi explained. Akoko, which means time in Nigeria's Yoruba language, represents the moment to bring exceptional West African cuisine to the heart of London. This restaurant's menu is a blend of tradition and innovation, where African ingredients and time-honored techniques are elevated with modern, Michelin-worthy finesse. From the delicate balance of spices to the unexpected textures in each dish, Akoko offers a dining experience like no other. High-quality ingredients and the precision with which they're prepared set Akoko apart from anything Nora has encountered in African cuisine before. One dish stood out, a beautifully prepared beef served with uniquely cooked vegetables. The vegetables perfectly complemented the juicy richness of the beef. And of course, the jollof rice, or jollof rice. It wasn't just a side dish, but the heart of the meal. Spicy, aromatic, and bursting with deep, complex flavors with a crunchy twist. It's a dish that showcases just how bold and intricate African food can be when approached with creativity and respect for its roots. But Akoko isn't the only place where African cuisine is shining in London. Restaurants like Chisuru are also at the forefront of the movement. Chisuru was awarded a Michelin star in 2024, and chef Adejoke Bakare was the UK's first female African chef to be awarded this. Hell yeah! When Nora first visited Chisuru, which in Hausa means to eat silently, she had a chance to speak with a waitress from Cameroon, who shared her perspective on the increasing trend of African food in the city. I'm from Cameroon, so I recognize a lot of ingredients and flavors here. Those familiar with African cuisine, it's a comforting experience. But for newcomers, it's a chance to explore something completely new, exciting, fresh flavors that may not have experienced before, she explained. It is exactly the mix of familiarity and discovery that makes African cuisine so exciting to experience in London right now. There's a bunch of pictures of some fine cuisine, which just imagine a really big plate and then like 2 small balls on it. There you go. That's what it is. It's just 2 small crunchy balls sitting on a bed of sugar, you know? I paid $50 for this. I'm not hating on the chefs. I'm hating on the whole idea of like this fine cuisine makes the food more civilized than, you know, if I went to a taco truck. That doesn't mean anything to me.
You got to be a foodie. Yeah. You got to be a foodie to appreciate it.
Back at Akoko, another memorable part of the meal was a unique course from the taste menu. Cashew cream on a plantain bellini topped with caviar. It was a perfect example of the creativity that defines Akoko's approach, blending traditional African technique with fine dining. Nora wasn't sure how the combination would work. The cream and cashew cream paired with the sweet plantain bellini balanced perfectly with the salty, briny taste of the caviar. It was refreshing and unexpected, showing just how far African chefs are willing to go in terms of creativity while staying true to their culinary traditions. I'm more curious which caviar it is, because that's really important. I think different caviars have different tastes. You know, you've got like salmon caviar, tastes way different. This is more like a greenish brown caviar, which could just mean that that's what color it is, or maybe they dyed it. I have no idea. More curious about that, I guess. And I'm not even a foodie. I was just curious. It's not just about food. African cuisine in London is becoming a cultural movement. Aji Akokomi's success with Akoko is part of a larger trend in which chefs are making African food not only accessible, but also refined, placing it alongside some of the best fine dining options in the city. We're seeing more West African restaurants open, and it's wonderful to see them thriving, he says. The success of places like Akoko proves the interest in African food is only going to grow. As African flavors continue to make their mark, Nora can't help but feel that the culinary scene in London is richer and more vibrant for it, whether through a refined Michelin-starred experience at Akoko or Chisuru, or a more casual yet equally excellent dish at Enish or Tuku, which are Nigerian restaurants also based in London. African cuisine in the capital is here to stay, and there's no shortage of excitement around this evolving culture. So you got a story about some evolving food culture? Have you been to a Michelin star African restaurant?
No, I haven't. But I do find it not a person. Well, personally, I do find it interesting that a tire company is an expert on food. Which that's not necessarily a personal story. But yeah, my personal story is I will eat anything once, but I'm not necessarily crazy about paying extra for food just for its presentation.
Yeah,
right? It's
I feel the same way.
Right. It's like, oh, well, I ate some really fancy food and I paid a lot of money. Now let's go to a buffet so I can get, stave off starvation because I didn't get enough food at that place.
And then you paid a lot of money and then you ended up dying on the street later.
Right. It's like, well, and it's like, oh, I can't finish this. You never had that problem with those small portions. You'll finish it. If you like it.
But maybe that's part of the art, right? Part of the art is designing a meal that you can finish from start to beginning and you can finish. Maybe. Right.
You're paying extra for the food. It ain't for the nutrition. Let's put it that way. It's not for the nutrition.
Yeah. Okay, here is your segue rule. Or wait, my segue rule, sorry. My segue rule.
Yours, yes. For this day in history.
A non sequitur. Well, that's easy. I can change the topic easily.
Right. You can learn the complete wrong lesson from any of these stories. In 1546, Martin Luther passed away at the age of 62 in Eisleben, Saxony. He was, of course, the leader of the Protestant Reformation.
The Lutheranism.
And one of the first beneficiaries. Yeah. The founding of questioning the Catholic Church, which was expounded upon by the invention of the printing press, which allowed his
the founding of, hey, maybe other people should read the Bible.
Widely distributed for people that could actually read. Yeah. In 1836, Hindu religious leader Ramesh Ramakrishna, who founded this school of thought that united diverse mystical traditions into a single belief system, was born in Hooghly, Bengal State, India. So Ramakrishna was born in this day, 1836. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. That's where that comes from, I'm pretty sure. 1848. Louis Comfort Tiffany, an American designer internationally recognized as one of the greatest proponents of Art Nouveau, particularly in the art of glassmaking, was born. So happy birthday to Tiffany, known for the Tiffany lamps we know of. Very extravagant, blown glass designed lamps. So happy birthday to Tiffany. In 1861, Jefferson Davis was inaugurated as provisional president of the Confederate States of America. Those traitors, they had a president before Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated. They couldn't even wait.
Yeah.
So yeah, the southern states have not gotten any smarter. It's been 150, 60 years, and they're still butt ignorant southern states. 1933, Japanese, well, not to glom everybody that lives in those states, but you're not getting the proper education you should. And you're being lied to constantly by your politicians, and your vote is being suppressed. So if you're in the South, you have no voice in your government. You're basically just doing what the oligarchs want, and you stay poor, and they try to keep you dumb. 1933, Japanese artist and musician Yoko Ono was born. She turns a bright young 92 today. Whoa! Yoko's turning 92 today. She's still around. Became internationally famous as the wife and artistic partner of musician John Lennon, and the mother of Sean Lennon. Don't forget, Sean Lennon is a very, very talented musician. 1960s, 7 nations established the Latin American Free Trade Association, predecessor to the Latin American Integration Association. In 2001, I remember this clearly. 2001, American stock car racer Dale Earnhardt died from injuries suffered during the crash in the final lap of the Daytona 500. I remember that. I watched the end of the race, thought it was over, went to the store, came back, and everybody was talking about how Dale Earnhardt's dead. And I was like, whoa. I knew he crashed, I just didn't think he was dead. 2006, well, of course, it was his own fault. He did not wear a restraint system on his head, and he still wore an open face helmet. An open face helmet in 2001. Something that was that they gave the drivers a choice to do, right? But he chose to do it. He didn't have to have an open face helmet, and he smashed his head on the steering wheel. So that's what killed Dale Earnhardt Sr. 2006, American speed skater Shawnee Davis became the first black athlete to win an individual Winter Olympics gold medal when he placed first in the men's 1,000 meter long track final at the games in Turin, Italy. So there's a landmark for you. Not a lot of black athletes in the Winter Olympics, and this guy, Shawnee Davis, won the gold medal. 2010. Website WikiLeaks began posting classified U.S. government documents provided by Army intelligence analyst Bradley, later Chelsea Manning. It is believed to be the largest unauthorized release of state secrets in U.S. history. In 2017, American activist Norman McCorvey, the original plaintiff in the landmark Roe versus Wade case, died at the age of 69. So she passed away in 2017. A featured event is in 1930. Pluto was discovered by Clyde Tombaugh. That's right. Pluto, which isn't a planet, it's a dwarf planet. But using a 13-inch or 33-centimeter telescope at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, Clyde W. Tombaugh, a 24-year-old American with no formal training in astronomy, discovered the dwarf planet Pluto this day in 1930. Well, that's a hell of a deal. Our featured biography is Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison, whose works are being banned in the United States because we're a free country. She's being banned for being black now. That's the only thing she's being banned for. She was born February 18th, 1931 in Lorain, Ohio. Died August 5th, 2019 at the age of 88 in New York City. So we'll celebrate Toni Morrison's birthday today. Our other birthdays today, Enzo Ferrari, the Italian automobile manufacturer, inventor of the Ferrari, born in 1898. We also mentioned Toni Morrison. We also mentioned Yoko Ono. It's John Hughes, American film director. John Hughes, one of the founders of one of the key makers of the National Lampoon magazine. Of course, he made all those Home Alone movies and vacation movies with Chevy Chase, and he made the Trains, Planes, and Automobiles with John Candy and Steve Martin. So he made a lot of great, funny movies. Happy birthday to John Hughes. It's also a happy birthday to Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre turning 60 today. American rapper, hip-hop producer, and entrepreneur. Dr. Dre. Happy birthday to Dr. Dre. And what days is it today? It is National Battery Day. So everybody's got batteries. You got battery on your phone. You got a battery in your car. Batteries everywhere. Probably batteries helping you run your generator in your house. It's National Drink Wine Day. Drink wine and throw batteries. National Crab Stuffed Flounder Day. Now, if you don't like flounder enough already, stuff it with crab. That'll make it better. Where does the crab start and the flounder end? I don't know.
I don't know
we'll
why
find
you do
out.
it. It's like that weird turkey chicken thing, right? Where you stuff... Why would you stuff already in stuff? I don't know. I don't like that kind of thing where you stuff more things in a thing.
A turducken, so you have more drumsticks. So you have 6 drumsticks instead of 2. But there's your days, there's your history, that's your everything for today on February 18th, 2025 on Before Crab Stuffed Flounder. That's a tough one.
So, how's the weather for you today? Is the sun up yet? I don't think so. No. Anyway, there's your non sequitur, completely unrelated to what you're talking about. Just completely blindsided you.
I thought you just... All right, that's a complete non sequitur.
Yeah.
Totally disinterested in anything I said whatsoever. All right, go ahead.
There is no International UN observance today. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands, Roger from the West Coast of the United States, as we finish up another positive news story day here on Good Tuesday News Day. We'll see you tomorrow for Wacky and Weird Wednesday. We're going to find some wacky and weird stories, like, I guess, people stuffing crab into flounder or something. Man, what a weird dish. Anyways.
I should have made that the subject of the video.
We hope you have a good rest of your day, especially today. You have to have a good day. I don't care what's happening. Keep that optimism running. If, something terrible happens, just move on and whistle out of it. Or like that guy with the alligator, right? Just calmly assess the situation, and everything will be okay.
Hey. That's right. And don't stuff your flounder with crab.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to the Allie and Raj channel so you can see our next episode, or episodes you've missed, perhaps. You can like this video and comment down below if you would stuff a flounder full of crab. What do you think about stuffing other animals into other animals? I think it's disgusting. And here is our cute mic drop.
If you'll be asked about fluffy pets, you would probably think of a Persian cat or a Maltese dog, which are fun to be around with.
Everyone loves cute animals, but do you like cute sheep?
That you can find
Look at their little, the little spirally horns do add to the cuteness, I have to say.
Sheep has existed since the 15th century. You will find the black-nosed sheep in the pastures of the canton of southern Switzerland.
It's the contrast.
The Swiss region,
the white and the black, and then the little horns. Like, what do you got those there for?
Is adored for its calm and friendly nature, which is perfect for domestication. You will recognize the black nose for its thick white curls of wool that covers its
But all sheep are cute, body. In my opinion.
It has a distinct
of course, I'm surrounded by sheep here. There's so many sheep.
You won't mistake it for
if you have your own pet sheep, especially it's a female, you can have your own milk, you have your own wool, right?
Both male and female black-nosed sheep have helical or spiral horns, and despite being short, It has a relatively
Not a lot of
long
people
and
have
straight
sheep
back
milk, though. I'm
that's
not sure
stuffed
why.
with
Goat milk is more
strong
popular.
muscles,
Maybe
too.
goats make more
The
milk.
rams can weigh up to 125
And it's easier to
kilograms,
milk
while
them.
the ewes can be as large as
I
80
saw this
kilograms.
homeless guy who had
Its wool
a sheep, had a
so
pet sheep, and he used it for milk. So
a year to achieve
Yeah,
the
I'm not
sheep's
saying you can't do it.
optimal
I just wonder
and
why, I
maintain
guess,
good quality
globally.
of the
I
wool.
know you didn't say that.
Its fleece is also fast growing, and you can see its wool piling up again in no time.
I've loved watching
Meanwhile,
sheep shearing
the black-nosed
videos.
sheep is
It feels
also
like
used for meat.
getting a
It's as
scratch on the
delicious
back.
as
That's
the
what it,
other
like, it looks
commercial
like
meat
what that
foods in
feels
the
like.
market. It's also proven
Oh,
to be
finally, I got all that
healthier than
heavy
breeds containing 50%
stuff off my
Right.
back.
and would be a promising choice for
That's gotta be-
conscious meat eaters, thus making the Valais Blacknose
Especially when they can't
a
see.
lucrative choice for breeding and domestication. As a
I
matter
think
of
that's
fact,
I think it's
a
crazy
single
when people
black-nosed sheep
keep their
can cost
animals
between
with
$7,000
the
and
hair covering their eyes.
$25,000.
like sheepdogs. They do that with
Personally,
sheepdogs
I would
too,
rather buy a Valais
which is why they're
Blacknose
called
as my pet
sheepdogs
sheep
because they have
for
all that
personal
hair
fluffy comfort.
everywhere.
Their
It's like
tender
give that
nature,
guy a haircut. You
being
can't
highly
see.
intelligent and calm makes them easy to care for and be around. Due
Yeah,
to
walking
its
around
increasing
wearing a blanket all
popularity,
day.
The Valais Blacknose has reached other parts of the world, including New Zealand, United Kingdom, and the United States.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.